In this video, I want to talk about how faith informs politics. So to start with, I look at the Bible as the foundation of truth, and that's what I'm starting with, is the Bible. And so the Bible teaches us some things, and there's theology, there's biblical principles, there's the fact that humans are made in the image of God, and a few specific things about being made in the image of God is our relationships, and we have relationships with God, we have a relationship with other humans, we have relationships with ourselves, and we have relationships with creation. And so just setting, those are like the basic principles of things that I think about as far as truth and reality, and just how I approach the world and life and everything. And so once I have those beliefs established, then I believe that those beliefs lead to thinking about how the world should be. And so essentially creating a vision of how you believe the world should operate. What is the ideal way? In my case, I think that's saying and going back to how God created the world, and living out his vision of how God thinks the world should operate. And so you're defining something. And so the first section here is kind of more of like your core doctrinal beliefs or something. So your vision of the way the world should be is probably gonna be informed by this, but people, as you move along this path here, some people are gonna have disagreements, or they might think that certain things should be different ways and things like that. So that's, going from, your basic theological beliefs into some other beliefs that explain and kind of put more clarity on how you think the world should be, and essentially the morality, and kind of how people should be treated and how society should be structured, those types of things. So the next thing on the other side that we want to think about is we want to think about the way that the world is right now. And so that's people, almost like a sociological experiment, is just defining what is the current status, what are the problems that the world is facing, and or our society, or our church, or our organization, or whatever. So just defining, this is the reality that we're in now, this is the way it is. And a lot of times when you're looking at those things, you're going to have other things that do help inform that again. So the Bible is a thing that's going to help me think about how I think that the world is in existence right now, and kind of help shape that. It's kind of a lens that I look through. But we also use history, and we study history, and there's people that some people have a more full understanding or a more clear picture of what happened in the past than other people. And so sometimes history can cause a disagreement there. And obviously everybody has their own experiences, and everybody brings their own bias when they are describing how the world currently is. And so I think as you move, farther away from core theology and defining the way the world should be, and then by the time you get to how we see the world and the way the world is now, people can have very different visions about what they think is the reality of the world, and essentially again, what the main problems are that exist in the world, and that need to be fixed, basically. And so even just the definitions of those can be different for many different people and with different beliefs. Even people that start out with the same theological principles can see the world in a different way. And so then this leads us to the fact that basically everybody believes that the world is a certain way, and that it should be a different way. Basically everybody has an ideal of what they want the world to look like, but they don't think that it is that way. They think that the existence as it is now is not the way that it should be. And so there's all kinds of solutions and proposals and things that people discuss and talk about as far as how they think that, the world should be changed or be different. So there are all kinds of methods, and I put together this list. I don't know if this is completely makes sense, but I just put church, family, politics, economics, the society, nonprofit organizations, all these things that maybe are methods or solutions or things that people could think or look to help solve the world and help us move from the way the world is and move down here and make the world more the way it should be. And that even in the Lord's Prayer, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, is again that movement of saying the world is not the way that it should be, but we're praying that God would help to bring that about. And then obviously once you're inside of these methods over here, especially like politics and economics, a lot of people are going to have even more different views when they're bringing these up and discussing them. And so people are going to have all kinds of ideas and different strategies, and part of that's going to be based on how they see the world and, how they think it should get there. And even people that see the world very similarly and see how it should be very similar are still going to have different methods, and how we disagree and get along and argue about those things is important. And I'm still kind of thinking through exactly what all of this stuff means. But I think one thing is interesting is the way we communicate and discuss all of these, because as a human, we only have so many different modes or methods of human communication. And so we use words, or we create books or movies or music or all the different forms of communication. But the thing is, we could use those same forms or same methods to talk about core theology principles. The way we could use those same things to talk about the way the world should be. We could talk about how the world is, and we could talk about methods, and we would use the same media, the same production sense, whether it's just having a conversation, talking to somebody, again, music, movies, a Facebook post, a Twitter argument, anything like that. But in reality, all of these things are at a different level. But when we're communicating with them, we don't preface everything with say, okay, now I'm in level 1, I'm talking about something that I think is a core belief. And then when we get here, we specify it. And then when we get to the methods, we say, okay, well, I'm arguing about it as a method, and I'm only talking about a level 4 truth. I don't, not saying that you don't care about it, but saying that you are open to disagreement. And so that we don't clarify every statement that we make and specify which category it's in. That would be kind of crazy and ridiculous. But I think we need to understand that, like, I might feel really passionate about a certain economic principle, and I might talk about it with kind of some of the same language that I do theology, but in reality, it's in a different category. And I want the unity comes from being a Christian in Christ, under, a doctrinal statement if you're part of an organization or whatever, or just being, brothers and sisters in Christ. Whereas these ones over here we can disagree about, and I might have a strong opinion about one, but I'm willing to, set that aside because I think that these beliefs are more important. So anyways, that's what I'm thinking about, trying to process and understand what all that looks like. And yeah, I think that's the end. See ya.